This is a lecture from OpenTuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
Chapter 4 is all about how do we calculate that trading profit figure that will eventually go to our income tax computation. Now, in a previous session, I spoke about the differences between income tax and capital gains tax. And one of the things that I said is that income tax is taxed on profits that are expected to recur generally, whereas capital gains tax is charged on the one-off disposal of capital assets. But sometimes there is a bit of a grey area. Now, if you sell something and you make a profit, then it's generally preferable for that profit to be assessed as a capital gain, because we get an annual exemption from capital gains and the rates of tax are lower than that for income tax. So, for example, the highest rate of income tax, as we've seen, is 45%, whereas the highest rate of capital gains tax is only 24%. Also, if a profit is going to be assessed as a trading profit, not only would it be assessed to income tax, but you would also have national insurance contributions to pay on top, whereas with capital gains tax, there's no NIC. So the badges of trade are the tests that HMRC will apply in deciding that if someone makes a profit and it falls into that grey area, are we going to tax it as a trading profit, or are we going to tax it as a capital gain? Now, one way to remember the badges of trade, we've got a mnemonic or an acronym, SOFIRM, and that might help jog your memory in the exam if this comes up. Now, SOFIRM, going through each of those letters in turn, the S in SOFIRM stands for the subject matter of the transaction. Basically, what is it that you are selling? Now, generally, when you acquire something, you are deemed to kind of acquire it for one of three reasons. So one reason could be because it's an investment, so it's going to grow in value or it's going to produce an income, like stocks and shares or a property. Another reason why you might buy it is for personal use. Now, if you buy something and it's clearly not as an investment and it's clearly not for personal use, then the implication is that you bought it with the intention of selling it on and making a profit, in which case it would be deemed to be a trading profit when you sell it. Now, there's lots and lots of case law to do with the badges of trade, and some of them are quite funny, quite interesting. So to give you an example, many years ago, somebody bought 1 million rolls of toilet paper. And they sold this toilet paper and made a profit. And they tried to claim that the profit should fall under the capital gains tax rules. And HMRC said, no, it's a trading profit. And it was deemed to be a trading profit because nobody buys 1 million rolls of toilet paper as an investment. It doesn't produce an income. It doesn't tend to increase in value. Nobody buys 1 million rolls of toilet paper for personal use. So therefore, it must have been bought, these toilet rolls must have been bought with the intention of selling them on and making a profit. And therefore, it was deemed to be a trading transaction. Now, another thing to be considered, the O in SOFIRM, is ownership length. Now, if you've only had an asset for a short period of time and then you sell it, that could indicate that you bought it with the intention of selling it on and making a profit. However, if you've had something for 20 years and you sell it and you make a profit, the fact that you've had it for such a long time would indicate that it would be a capital transaction. Something else that we would consider under that heading as well would be the way in which the asset is financed. So, for example, if you took out a 5-year bank loan to buy this asset, then the chances are that you were intending to keep it for at least 5 years, if not longer. Whereas if you bought something on a short-term bank overdraft, then the implication would be that you intended to sell it really quickly and make a profit and then pay the overdraft off. Something else that would be considered would be the way in which the asset was acquired. So, for example, if you inherited an asset, let's say it was a painting, and you thought it was the most hideous painting you've ever seen, but it's worth a lot of money, and you decide that you're going to sell it. Now, you might have only had this painting for about 6 months, which is a relatively short period of time, but the fact that you acquired it by accident, that would not indicate trading. You haven't bought it with the intention of making a profit effectively. So moving on to the F in so firm, we've got the frequency of similar transactions. So remember that capital gains tax generally is charged on the one-off disposal of capital assets. So let's say that, you had a collection of antiques, and every now and again you sold one of these antiques. 3-5 years in between selling them, then that isn't very frequent, and therefore any profit that you might make would be considered to be a capital profit. However, if you were, an antique dealer and you were buying and selling antiques on a regular basis, then any profit that you would make would be a trading profit. The I in so firm stands for improvement expenditure or supplementary work and marketing. So if you've bought an asset and you take active steps to increase the value of that asset, so let's say that you buy a house and it's a bit run down and you spend a load of money rewiring it and replastering it and so on, making it look smart, and then you put it on the market straight away without having lived in it, for example. So once again, the chances are it would be treated as a trading profit. You're a property developer effectively. So you've taken active steps to increase the value of the asset, and you've taken active steps in marketing that property. The R in so firm stands for reason for sale. Now, if you sell something and you make a profit, but you've got a genuine reason for selling that asset because you need to raise money for a particular purpose, for example. So let's say, the family member needs some very expensive medical treatment, and you decide that you're going to sell this asset and raise the money to pay for the medical treatment. So the fact that you've got a reason for selling it and a reason for realising the funds, if you like, then that would be treated as capital rather than trading. However, if you're buying and selling assets for no particular reason, you're not raising funds for any particular reason, then once again, that would be deemed to be a trading activity. Now, the final letter in so firm is motive. Or profit motive. So where we look at the motives of the person, so if there's a clear profit motive, you bought that asset with the clear intention of selling it on and making a profit, then once again, the chances are it would be treated as a trading transaction. Now, the thing is with grey areas and with the badges of trade is obviously we've got a lot of tests in there. And for a particular situation, some of the tests might indicate trading and some of the tests might indicate capital. It's never clear cut, which is why we apply the test in the first place. So what the HMRC would do is they would say, well, on balance, what do we think? Are we going to treat it as a capital transaction and subject that profit to capital gains tax? Or is this person deemed to be trading, in which case we're going to get them to income tax and national insurance contributions on that profit? So quite an interesting area of tax, I think. So lots and lots of case law, and some of them are quite funny.